what's causing the infertility? The bisphenol A, the glyphosates, all of it, admittedly, absolutely attacks fertility, attacks the cells, not just the the reproductive glands and reproductive organs. What can you do to mitigate, stop getting those chemicals as much, but also known compounds that we're also deficient in to massively boost infertility? What would you tell a woman, let's say a 30-year-old woman with a 30-year-old husband, this is a real couple out there, who are looking at, having children and have kind of been trying and it isn't happening?
Well, the first thing I always tell people when I counsel them for infertility is you need to recognize the things that are causing your infertility. And the number one thing is going to be the xenoestrogens. And that starts with, those are estrogen mimickers, and we're living in a society where we have too much estrogen. And those xenoestrogens are what contaminates and destroys the endocrine system. One of the things we talk about a lot here is iodine, and that's one of the things that we've found that all the endocrine glands need and want, and these xenoestrogens and these compounds that affect fertility, whether it's low sperm count, whether it's damage to the ovaries, damage to the hormone system in the women, all of these things are estrogen mimickers or compounds that damage either the thyroid, the pineal, the pituitary, the adrenal, and everything else.
And doctor, folks are going to say, what are those? Well, bisphenol A is in almost all the printer ink, almost all the plastic. By design, they admit it's to make us infertile. Expanding, what is one of the top ones? Fluoride is obviously a xenoestrogen. Break that down. Yep. That's why the White House science czar says they put it in the water.
So believe it or not,
don't drink tap water.
Don't drink tap water, because all of these chemicals are in tap water. Matter of fact, a lot of pharmaceutical drugs have phthalates. Now, phthalates are a plastic compound, and that's one of the top 10 xenoestrogens or endocrine.
So you're saying chicken McNuggets that have a plasticizer in them, I shouldn't be giving my children plastic?
If you want to have a baby later, then no. So
you mean plastic is not good for you?
Phthalates are actually fragrances, and 75% of the American public actually use fragrant compounds in their homes. So that's one of the things.
The air fresheners, those are little Dachau gas chambers.
Any fragrant in cosmetics, any fragrant in skin lotions, any perfume, conditioner.
That women just dunk themselves in.
Yes, that they lather all over their body are. And that's the loophole, because...
And they wonder why, even for young women, their periods are bonking around like ping pong balls, because they're just dunking themselves in artificial and plant estrogens.
Right. All of this stuff that we talk about are disrupting the hormones in men and disrupting the hormones in females. And the phthalates, fragrances, we don't even know what those chemicals are, because they're proprietary. They're proprietary. They're not. These companies aren't required to list these.
That's right. They've got laws passed that you don't get to know what it is.
So the phthalates are a big problem, because they make plastic softer. But the next big problem is the use of herbicides and pesticides, and that's going to be your glyphosate, which is sprayed on all the vegetables, your Roundup that you have in your backyard that's being sprayed everywhere. The compounds in these are so damaging that they can literally turn off your DNA and affect you for generations and generations and generations.
Let's show those articles. That's mainstream news.
So what you were saying earlier, though, the sperm and egg carry genetic memories, they found out now that this means that parents' bad habits, such as poor diet and drinking too much alcohol, could be passed on to their children, even if they're healthy during pregnancy.
That's what the Bible said. The sins of the parents are passed on.
Exactly. Now we actually have proof that the memories and the actions are passed on to the cells, not just the DNA and the genes.
And we'll put that article on screen for viewers. We'll put that article on screen.
That means that it's so important. Part of our fertility program is that cleansing the body for 3 to 6 months before you actually try to conceive. And that just makes sense. That's how they did it in the ancient days. That's how anybody who's sensible.
And this is from the University of Alberta. The University of Alberta, that's why every ancient culture, before a maiden got married to her mate, and of course then she was a virgin, she'd usually get pregnant in just a few moon cycles. That's what women are based on, all of us are. She would then go for like a month away and purify herself in the hills, the mountains, and only eat herbs. Every culture, because they didn't want to have a deformed baby.
Yep. And that's how the good thing about the human body is it repairs itself really fast. And that's why we focus on cleansing the gut and bringing that microbiome back into the gut because it is the largest endocrine gland. So really what we're trying to do with fertility is repair the endocrine system. You give the iodine, which is utilized by the ovaries, the testes, the thyroid.
It's the good halogen that they take out of the salt, and they put the bad fluoride in because they love us.
Well, guess what? Fluoride, chlorine, bromine, all endocrine disrupting chemicals. You were right when you said the water is the leading source of infertility because in water you have aluminum particles, you have fluoride. All these are harmful endocrine disrupting chemicals. You have all the pesticide and herbicide runoff in water. You have arsenic in water. You have perchlorate, which is rocket fuel that ends up seeping down and going into the water supply. You have the atrazine in the water supply. 95% of the milk and lettuce in the country is contaminated with perchlorate. 98% of women that had their breast milk tested had levels of DDT and perchlorate.
Well, it was like 99% of women tested over and over again have glyphosate in their milk.
Right, and an unknown fact is that arsenic, which is in the water supply practically all over the United States, is extremely restricted to fat. It basically shuts down your fat metabolism and your carbohydrate.
And so, exactly, they got all these studies that nobody talks about, but you've got, right here today, people can look them up, where you wonder why folks get so fat. People back in my grandfather's had pie after every meal and huge chicken fried steaks, and they were all skinny because there wasn't all this bisphenol A and all these chemicals and the fluoridation that makes you fat. They know in studies you feed GMO to different animals that makes them fat, stupid, and infertile.
That's right. So the solution, and the parabens, too, we didn't talk about, but parabens, and believe it or not, I mean, we talk about the living defense here, the introduction of living defense. A lot of people don't know that people are infested with harmful organisms, and harmful organisms, which can be bacteria, viruses, worms, anything that lives in your body that feeds off your body.
They are then defecating toxins.
Isopropyl alcohol, phenol, formaldehyde, and those are endocrine disrupting chemicals. So it all really comes back to an attack on your endocrine system.
Well, my biggest thing in reading the studies is people put food in the microwave and it like cooks it, or you get out, even not fast food, a good restaurant will put it in plastic, and the styrofoam's like melted, and I looked it up, but I tasted it before. I just can't do that where I'm eating all these chemicals.
Plastics are the worst, and, because BPA was taken out of most bottles and baby bottles, that doesn't mean that they don't still contain phthalates, and doesn't mean they don't contain BPS and other forms of plasticizers in there. Microwaving your food is one of the worst things you could do, because look at all the microwave food that comes in plastic containers. And any canned food that you have, organic or non-organic,
it will have bisphenol A liner.
It has bisphenol A liners in it. And so it's really hard to completely get away from all these chemicals and endocrine disrupting.
But if you want to get organic, get away from processed, use glass, and, wash your food well, have shower filters, have filters in your house. Just do it. Get the right kind of filters that actually cut this stuff out, not just charcoal filters. Now is the time, folks, because a lot of this is happening. It's just we're a corrupt, dirty society. But a lot of it is by design. They admit it.
It's basically, you have to keep your body clean. You have to keep your environment clean. You have to drink clean water. I mean, even washing your clothes with most of the detergents out there are going to put endocrine disrupting and toxic chemicals, and you're going to absorb them through your skin.
Let's expand on that. I mean, anybody when they were a kid would get clothes at the mall, and you were excited on the first day of school, and you forgot to wash it, and you'd put the shirt on, and it would, like, get all over you, and then I'd get hives. I'd have the ink on me. I mean, that's an exaggerated example of what's coming out of all this into us. I mean, you look at this water situation in Flint, Michigan. They're right. It's toxic. It is genocide against the 60% black and the 40% white and Hispanic and Asian and Arab. I mean, it's against everybody. But Michael Moore says they want to kill the black people. Folks, that's corrupt government that just doesn't care because of this attitude that so what if there's toxic waste here? So what if your housing facility is on a landfill and they don't tell you? So what if reactors, 93% of them are leaking worldwide? Used to it be big news of a reactor leak. Now it's not even on the news. The elite themselves are crazy. I mean, or they're space aliens that want to live in radiation. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, why do you think they're so crazy and don't care? They cared 30 years ago more.
I think that because they know that they're going to have to control the population, they want to see a downfall. Everything's too late. The countries are way too far gone in debt. There has to be a reset.
They're going to ride the collapse and come out on top.
And yeah, they know that they're killing people, and they're look, you talk about it, designer babies. I mean, are we going to be in the future?
They're already doing it. And they're like, well, you know, you can't have it because of this gene. They're talking about, you know, for their intelligence, how they look, making them 3 to 6 to 12 parents. They're already doing it. Chimeras, splicing us with animals. Dr. Group's here with us right into the 4th hour. Anthony Gucciardi's coming in here, and you guys are going to continue rolling on. We've got George, Angelo, Doug, Rick, Steve. I need to go to you guys, and I really appreciate you holding, all of you. So we are going to go to you pretty much directly when the next hour starts, and Dr. Group is certainly going to like that. But just finishing up here, what are some of the things that people can do other than avoiding toxins, not, you know, microwaving foods in plastic containers, things like that? What else can you do to boost fertility?
One of the easiest and most effective and cheapest methods, actually, is going to be reducing your stress levels. And that means getting out of scenarios that increase your adrenal output and your stress hormones, which automatically decrease the immune system by 50%.
So don't release as much cortisone.
That's right, but that's why also we have developed certain supplements. I mean, iodine deficiency is one of the biggest causes of infertility in my mind, because all of these things that attack the endocrine system, every organ in the endocrine system is dependent upon iodine. And if you notice that most endocrine disrupting chemicals are actually brominated, like the fire retardants and everything like that have bromine, fluorine, or chlorine on them. As a matter of fact, Viagra, believe it or not, has phthalates on it. So if all the men out there that are taking Viagra, you're actually becoming sterile and possibly infertile by taking Viagra. Birth control pills have phthalates on them.
Now, you also have, what is that, like an NPR article of the study?
Well, yeah, an NPR, because this was very interesting. You know, I've always said heal the gut. The gut is one of the most effective things at healing the body. And so scientists went and looked at indigenous people and said, what's the difference between an American gut flora and
these incredibly fertile women in the Amazon?
Yeah, there is
most fertile women in the world.
There is no infertility.
Look at them, they get pregnant.
There. And they actually said Americans' digestive tracts look like barren deserts compared with the lush tropical rainforest found inside indigenous people, and that the tribes had 50% more ecological diversity with probiotics than the average American has.
So diverse probiotics, raw foods, pickled foods is the answer to fertility as well. And as you mentioned, super male vitality, super female vitality, X2 is the purest iodine anybody can find from our research. Those are discounted both today, 15% off, InfoWarsLife.com. So it's a win-win. Rest, not getting as angry, taking time off when you're trying to get pregnant. What are some of the other known herbs that have been associated with pregnancy? I mean, I know there's some that are known as the, you know, basically the pregnancy herbs.
Yeah, Vitex, Hishu Wu, Fotai root, that's a traditional Chinese medicine herb. Fresh juices, really going back to the basics. Cleaning your body, juicing, fasting, eliminating all the chemicals and toxins coming in, repairing your endocrine system. Clean water is probably one of the most effective things that you can do, and I always recommend people add a little organic apple cider vinegar in there for minerals and live enzymes. Kombucha is also something that's very effective at cleansing the body and giving people more live organisms inside their system. Good probiotics.
The globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs, sourced from powerful organic herbs, and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super Male Vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality.